Hello. You caught me fussy cutting. I was fussy cutting this cute little cat from the best day. He's our part of our card class for my Patreon group. So I hope everybody's doing good. So tonight we are going to celebrate St. Patrick's Day with the Lucky Clover stamp set. Unfortunately, the punch to this set is no longer available. And hey Dawn, most, whoops, alarm, mostly because they would not be able to get it in time for the mini catalog. Because this set is in the mini catalog. So one of the greatest things about being a demonstrator is we get to pre-order things before they go live to our customers, and that's why I have the punch. And time is running out to join to be a demonstrator. It ends at the end of February, and you have three options. One is $99 for $175 worth of product, or $129, and you still get the $175 in product, but you also get a mini cut and emboss machine. Hey, do. And you don't have to do what I do. You could just use it as a savings on all your craft supplies. So let's get started. I have this card tonight with a watercolored background, a faux watercolor background. And then here's the inside. And then the second one has some DSP, the cane weave embossing folder. Thank goodness for Casey. Hi, Karen. And then I did a clover, 4-leaf clover for the inside with some gold twine. And then the last project is a little treat holder, and once you take the ribbon off, it opens just like this. And this is the Dandy Delight Designer Series paper that's in the Celebration catalog. You get 48 sheets, and if you spend $100, you get it for free. And just give me 1 second. I want to just grab a piece of garden green, so when we get to the inside of this card, we can take care of it. So let's get started. Hope everybody's, do we sign? No, Elaine, once you sign up, it automatically is, a payment automatically goes through. And I did get a payment from you, so you will be getting the Easter box, which I should say registration for this one, if you're not already subscribed, will be ending soon. And here are the projects. This is a little book that you can put treats in. And then we have this card with the Easter eggs and the wreath and the cute little bunnies. So I have 3 cards this month, the little book treat, and then a little tiny Easter basket. So if you're interested, you can head over to my blog. And like I said, if you're already subscribed, you don't have to do a thing. So let's start with this card tonight. I'm using Pear Pizzazz Garden Green Basic White with a touch of gold. Now, I looked in the catalog. I'm using the gold adhesive back swirls. These are no longer available. And as you can see, I had a brand new pack that I had never used while they were available in the catalog. So let's get started. So I have Pear Pizzazz, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. And believe it or not, ladies, you don't have to wait for the PDF. It is already on my blog. Hey, Kathy. Yay. Nice, Cheryl. Oh, thank you so much. So I haven't posted the link to the PDF yet, but it is on my blog. So believe it or not, I am ahead of the game. Can you believe it? All right. I think I did. I grabbed the wrong. This is the other card. We don't want to do this one first because it's a messy one. So let's start that whole thing over. I am starting with Pear Pizzazz, but for the first card, it is 11 by 4.25, and I scored it at 5.5. Okay. Oh, we just rewind, start over, replay. Then I am going to, of course, layer it up with another layer of Pear Pizzazz. And this is 5.25 by 4. And hopefully, I'm just feeling my glues here. I might have to open a new one. So we're just going to, oh, look at that. We're just going to layer this right on the front of the card for our first mat, and I'm off the screen. Okay. Then I'm going to layer it up with a layer of garden green. And this garden green is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And I am also going to just adhere this right to the front of the card. Whoops. That one got away. So you had snow, Karen. I hate to tell you, but we had a little bit of rain this morning. And by the afternoon, oh my goodness, it was so warm. Even now, it is like 50 degrees out. Hey, Fran. Yes, green is one of mine, too. I do not see your name, Karen, but I knew it was you. Yep, I always know it's you, Karen. You mentioned Casey, and I figured that you were you. Okay, then I'm going to layer it up with a piece of basic white that I ran through with the cane weave embossing folder. Now this embossing folder, I believe, goes with the Regency Park suite. You can purchase it separately though. And this is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And this is going to be layered right on the front of the card. But before we do that, we're going to grab some of the Dandy Delight Designer Series paper. And this is 3 5/8 by 2 1/4. And I am going to adhere this to the bottom of this basic white. Now, the reason I didn't add the basic white to the garden green right here is I want to add my Designer Series paper first. Because if I did not cut it properly and there's any overhang, I'll be able to trim it off right away before I add it to the front of my card. So I'm just going to add this on. Love the glue so we can move it around. And then I'm just going to put it up against the table. And I don't want it on this side. I want it on this side. Sorry about that. Let me just show you what I mean. Can you see this side? It looks like the wrong side. This to me looks like the right side. So we're going to add the Designer Series paper on this side. I just want to get it lined up. And then I'm going to lift it, and like I said, I'm going to push it against the table on two sides. This way I know these two sides are even, and then I can turn it over, and you'll notice that a little bit, just a tiny little section is hanging over. And then I can just put this in my cutter and just trim that little piece off. And when I say it is little, this is the size right here. Can you see that? Just a little bit of overhang. But we would notice it up against this garden green. Next, I'm going to take some scallop. This is the scallop from the scallop contour dies. And we're going to add this to the front just to cover up the end of this designer series paper. And I want to get it on here so it is even. So we're going to use these 4 scallops. So let's just add some glue to these 4 scallops and line it up so it's on there pretty even. And I'm just going to lift it so I can make sure that it is straight. That looks pretty good. So it just separates this layer and it hides the end of the designer series paper. And then I'm just going to grab my scissors and just snip it off. Whoops. Okay, so now that we have that all set up, hey Kathy, how are you? How's Bill? Bill is horrible tonight. He's been in bed since, gosh, I think about 1 o'clock. He is got a really, he's sick stomach. I'm just hoping he's got, his chest is heavy. He's really nauseous. I'm just hoping it's not his heart. So he's in bed. All right, so we glued that to the front of our card, and I'm going to have to put a piece of scrap paper down because I got glue. Okay, so there we go. Then I used layering squares. They're not in the catalog anymore. But the stylish shape dies have squares in them. It's not a scallop, but it is just a regular square. And this square is 2.5 by 2.5. Then I have a gold layer, which is 2.25 by 2.25. And then I have a little basic white square that is 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. So I'm just going to move this out of the way, and we're going to use this basic white square. And you'll notice on the front of the card, I set the square so it'll be a diamond. And I am just going to grab this 4-leaf clover, and we're going to stamp this in pear pizzazz. And so we're going to ink this up really good. Just going to make sure it has good coverage. And then I'm going to, here's the stem of the little clover. I'm going to center this with the stem at my corner, one of my corners, and just give it a good stamp. Okay. Now let's let that dry for a minute. And we can work on getting these glued together. So I'm going to add some glue to my gold foil and add it to my garden green square. Make sure it's on there centered. Have a little wiggle room. And then we're going to add our clover. And I am going to add glue. I'm just going to make sure I don't add too much. And it does take a little extra time to dry on the gold. So I'll have a minute or so. So we're just going to center that on the gold. Give that a second to dry. And I'm just going to grab a piece of gold shimmer ribbon. This is in the catalog. And make a quick bow. So I'm still trying to figure out, I want to have my online garage sale. I was going to do it February 1st, and then Bill ended up with the catheterization and then the hospital, the ER visit. So that ended that. Now he's going in March 1st. So I think I'm going to do it between now and then. If you'd like to participate, would you rather it during the day or... I know I should do. Should I do it during the day or would you rather it in the evening? Okay, so now we can pull our card back in. And before I pop this up, I am going to grab one of my embellishments. If I can open this up. There we go. And we're just going to grab it. And I'm going to stick it right in the center of that clover. And then our little bow, I'll add that when I pop this up. So let's grab some dimensionals. Pop this up onto the front of our card. And we're just going to put it towards the top. We want to make sure that it is centered side to side. And then we can lay it down. Whichever's best for me. I will squeeze it in. Anytime is good. Okay. So it will most likely be in the evening. This way, believe it or not, Sheba, she asks to go to bed anywhere between 5:45 and 6:30. So she's in bed now. She was tired. Poor little thing. We went outside and she just had enough. She wanted to go to bed. She's so good. She's gotten so good, I have to say. I know I complained about her a lot, but she has gotten really good. All right, so here is the front of our card. So now let's work on the inside. So what I'm going to do first is I have a piece of garden green here. And I am going to just punch out one garden green clover. Unfortunately, you would need the punch to do this. And then I'm just going to move some of this stuff out of the way and pull in my scoreboard for a second. Now what I did was pretty much found where the center of each little petal is and put it on my scoreboard and laid it so it was straight, and then just scored it, and then did the same thing on this one, trying to basically find the center of that curve, just like that. Okay, and then I just gave it a little bit of a fold, and I'm going to grab my garden green ink, and I forgot to pull out a dauber. Here's one. Whoops, here's a green one here, and I am just going to add some dark green around the edges. And when it comes to that center there, you just have to try to get it down and inside. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to add a little bit of color to this plain garden green. I'm just going to go along all the edges. Want to give this little clover a little bit of character. Get that corner in there. All right. So, like I said, just a little bit of color. So you can see it has nice dark edges. Then what I did was I took a white pencil, and you can use any kind of white colored pencil, and added right in the center of each of these little leaves. Just kind of color it and lighten it up just a little, not really coloring it hard, just adding some brightness. If you ever notice clover when you're outside, the edges are always a little darker. The inside of the clover is always a little brighter or lighter in color. So I figured I'd just try to mimic the clover we have in our yards. So just like that. So now you can see that it just has a little character, right? So now we can pull in our basic white. And this is 5 1/4 by 4. And of course, I'm going to layer it onto a pear pizzazz that's 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So before we do that, let me grab the sentiment. And I am going to lay this down. See if I can't get it to look straight. I did add my sticker. Of course, I had to. And I am going to pull that garden green in again. And we're going to ink it up. And I'm going to test it first. I want to make sure I put this sticker on straight. Yep, that looks pretty good. Okay. So now, let's get this inked up. And I'm going to run it from the top. Nope, we're going to run it up from the bottom. because that top line is crooked. All right, so we'll put it right about here. A good friend is like a four-leaf clover, hard to find and lucky to have. Perfect, right? All right, so now that we have our sentiments stamped, this stamp set has this gathering of small little clover, and I'm going to pull out some Parakeet Party, ink it up, and I'm just going to put some here and some here. Then I'm going to add this to my Pear Pizzazz, but this time I am going to use some seal because I think we will see that glue through the basic white layer. So let's get this on here. And I am going to, believe it or not, stumble through. You know how hard this is for me. I am going to wrap the bottom of this with some gold twine. Now the twine is pretty thick, but I am going to first tie it in a knot. It'll make it much easier instead of me fumbling trying to add my bow. You know, I just can't do it. I've tried many times, just can't do it. So we're just going to add a bow. Of course, I have more twine than I need. And then I'm going to get my little loops so they are nice and tight and put my finger in the center and pull. This way, the loops will not get all tangled up. I am going to leave it crooked. And then I'm going to grab my four-leaf clover and add some glue. Fix my twine. Let me just pull this down just a hair. And I'm going to tuck the clover stem under and the leaf over. And let's just hold this in place while it dries. Yeah, the little clovers are very cute. Although, if you had little heart dies, you could do the same thing. Just put four little hearts together. Let's pull this a little bit. Get those loops so they're about the same size. Now, if you don't want that ribbon to be crazy, you could stick a little glue dot under there, but I'm good with it. And we're just going to take this inside, and I can feel this glue is running low. And we're going to add some glue. Now, I did put it on both sides of the twine because you know there's going to be a little bump there. So we're just going to lay this in. I'm just going to hold it down here. Just so it makes sure it sticks. Yep. I can see that it's not yet dry. All right, so there is card number 1. All right, I gotta let my little thumb out. Go ahead, Missy. All right, so there's card number 1. All right. So let's jump to card number 2. This one, we can go back to our 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4 piece of pear pizzazz. So we're going to lay it this way. This time, let me just make sure I have the right pieces. Okay. I'm going to layer it up with 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. Just want to make sure I cut it right, and it looks like I did. And then I have a piece of basic white that is 5 1/4 by 4. So I'm just going to put this on here. Believe it or not, I am using one of the stamps from Artistically Inked. It's this one right here. Looks like watercolor. Okay. And I'm going to start with, excuse me, my lightest color, which is Parakeet Party. And I am going to, and it doesn't matter which way you put it, I'll probably do it the wrong way, but we're going to start in this corner here and give it a stamp. And then I am going to grab a Post-it, and I'm just going to cover that up a little bit because I have more space over here. I'm just going to ink it up again and stamp it again. Okay? And then I can pull this off. So it's just a continuous water splat. Next, I'm going to grab some shaded spruce. I'm going to just stamp this a few times. Let's ink it up with shaded spruce. But I'm actually going to stamp off. And then I'm just going to overlap it and stamp on. Okay. And then, of course, I have to grab some garden green. Just going to stamp this a couple times and ink it up. I'm going to turn it around the opposite way, stamp off, and then we're going to stamp it right there. Okay, and I'm going to keep the garden green out because I'm going to grab these little clover again and ink it up, and we're going to add one set of clover there, and I'm going to turn it around and add another set of clover there. I'm going to pull out that Parakeet Party again, and there is a smaller clover in this set, and I'm just going to stamp a few of these little clover in the background, just randomly, just to fill in some of that space. And I am going to take garden green again, and I'm going to grab, just clean this off, these little dots from Artistically Inked. And I am actually going to stamp off and then stamp it twice. You want to just turn the stamp a little bit, just so your dots look a little different. So we're just adding some texture, thank you, Sheila, to the background. Okay. So we'll move that out of the way, let it dry for a minute. And then I'm going to grab another piece, let me just make sure, of basic white. And I'm going to switch out my sentiment stamp for my clover again. And this time we're going to stamp the clover in garden green. So we're going to ink it up. Stamp our clover. Now, if you wanted this set and you didn't get the punch, this is a really easy image to fussy cut. Of course, it does go much quicker with a punch. But you want to make sure it's lined up really well and give it a punch. All right. So here's that. We have our clover, and we're going to grab one of these gold embellishments, stick it in the center, and then I used the tailor-made tags and cut out one of the small ones. And then you really don't really see it too much on here, but I did cut out one of the hole protectors in gold. And then I have a piece of basic white, and this is 1 inch by 2.5. Now this will fit in between the stitching. The only problem is you can see that this tag has the corners are cut off. So what I did was lined it in between the stitching and pushed it up, made sure it was on there straight, and pushed it up so it is even with the edge of that tag. Okay, so now we can see our little corners. Just going to snip off these 2 corners. So now when I move it back down, it fits onto this tag. Okay, quick and easy little trick. All right, so now we're going to pull these little clover back in. I'm just going to stamp them a few times. And our pear pizzazz. And we are going to stamp the background. Just going to give this a second to dry. Get my gold embossing powder and my Versamark. Let's grab this little embossing buddy. Make sure I don't get embossing powder on the ink. I will use my tool. I won't use my little tray because I seem to waste a lot. There's so much static in this room. So we'll just put it on another sheet. And I'm going to grab Luck and Love, Sending Luck and Love. Now, I don't have this sticker on, so I'm just going to ink it up and hope for the best. Give it a stamp. I think I did it. And then grab some gold embossing powder and cover up our Versamark. See if I can get most of it in. Oh, not bad. All right, so give me a second. I will heat this up. Oh, that's a good idea. Yes, it is sold out. And if they were to look at what's sitting here, I didn't even use it. If they were to get it, reorder it, Kathy, it wouldn't be here in time for the end of the mini catalog. So let's hope that this set carries over and they get the punch. That would be nice. All right, so there is our sentiment for our tag. So let's pull our tag back in. I am going to glue this, but I'm going to use minimal glue so it doesn't show through. Lay this on our tag right inside the stitching. Okay. And then we're going to take this little gold piece and I'm going to add some glue to it. And I'm going to lay it right where the hole would be on this tag. Let's grab some twine. At the end of the rope here. And I'm just going to wrap it around twice so the bow is doubled. Whoops. The only thing with this twine that I find, it doesn't knot very well. It loosens up really easy. So let's get this off my fingers. I'm going to just tighten this up a little bit. All right, so now I can get my loops even, trim my tails, and grab my glue dot. It's actually pretty warm in here tonight. Wow. Must be still warm outside. And then we're just going to add this to the tag. And then we can pull in our card. So we're just going to adhere this layer with some glue. Make sure I have it. Know where the opening is. So we're just going to center this. This one I'm going to use seal because it is the front of the card. I don't want the glue to be peeking through. And we're just going to add this to the front of the card. Yeah, like I said, that punch is not available. And I'm hoping that it carries over. All right, I want to try to get this centered. That's what I'm trying to do. All right. Okay. Now we can grab our sentiment and we're going to pop this up. So I'll just put a couple dimensionals. We're going to add it right about here. Make sure it's on there straight. And then we're going to grab our clover and we're going to pop this up also. And I'm just going to put it on here so one leaf is under, the stem is over. And then we're going to pull in those elements again, or gems or embellishments, and I'm going to put one in each bottom corner. And then there is the front of our card. Oh, is the bunny punch gone too? Oh my goodness. That is crazy. It's disappointing that there's nothing left. I love punches. All right, so now let's get to the inside. For the inside of this card, I did it really simple. I have my basic white layer, 5 1/4 by 4. It's going to be attached to a 5 3/8 by 4 1/8 layer of garden green. And I am actually going to just grab my stamp cleaner and scrub this a little. Because I'm going to use the Parakeet Party. Okay. And we're going to ink this up. And we're just going to stamp this along the bottom of the card. Easy peasy. And then I am going to grab my garden green again. And our little clover. We're just going to add them to the bottom. Grab our garden green. And our basic white layer. Oops. I don't want to lift this up too hard. And then add our glue. And lay it on the inside of our card. So there is card number 2. Okay. Thank you, thank you. All are gone. Isn't that crazy? Very crazy. Oh, I just hit the wrong. There we go. Thank you. Right. The sweets could be unavailable because only one part of the sweet is. So if you really want something, I would go to the order sheet and put in each individual item, because that could be, if one item is missing, they will not sell the suite. So remember that. So if you want, say, one suite, check to see, or you can send me a message and I can let you know what's not available from that suite. And then you could just order the other pieces. Okay? All right. So now we're going to jump to our little treat box. And I have to say, when you are scoring your designer series paper, remember that it's not cardstock. Okay? Because as you can see, and it's okay because it has to be cut anyway. But see how I pushed too hard and ripped my paper. So we have a piece of designer series paper that is 6 by 6. And we are going to score it. And I think I threw my piece of paper out. We are going to score it at 1 inch and 4 3/4. And we are going to, so you're going to score it. Let's do it this way. You're going to score it at 1, 2 3/4, 3 3/4, 5 1/2. And then you're going to turn it and you're going to score it at 1 and 4 3/4. Now this treat holder came from Julie Gilson. She's my upline, and each quarter we have a better your best meeting. So if you did better this quarter than you did last quarter, we are invited to a party. We play bingo for bundles, and she sends us make and takes. So these were the make and takes. I use Blessing of Home instead of the fragrant flower, but these were the make and takes, and this little treat box was included. So I thought that would be perfect for little St. Patrick's Day treats. Okay? So that's where it came from. So what we're going to do now, you're going to fold, and let me just fold this so they're all nice and straight, because it is hard to see when we want to cut it. So we're just going to fold and burnish everything. And now we have to cut. So we have this small little 1/2 inch section here. We're going to cut out this end rectangle, and then I'm just going to cut this at an angle. Following down this little section, I am going to cut out this bottom rectangle and again cut it at an angle. So this is what's going to hold our treat box together. Then you'll notice that one side, where's my ruler? One section that is scored here is 1 1/4. This section at the bottom is 1 inch. So the 1 inch side is the bottom of the box. And all we're going to do is, if we can see these lines, these score lines, we're going to just cut right up these score lines. So now we have 4 little tabs. Let's turn it around. We cut this little piece out. This is going to be our flap, because when the box closes, this seam, this is the back of the box, because this is where the seam is. So this is the flap. We want this rectangle, so this is where it ripped. We're going to cut right down that score line. Here's our flap. These 3 boxes, we're going to cut completely out. I'm trying to follow down these score lines. There we go. All right. Now I'm just going to take a look. I'm going to just trim this down just a hair. I'm going to do it here too. It'll let the flap stay down just a little better. And then this is what we're left with. Here's our flap. This is how we close the box. Here's the bottom. Before I do anything, let me grab my corner punch. And I am going to round these corners. And then I'm going to grab some tearing tape. And let's turn it this way. Grab the top of my glue. And I'm going to run my tearing tape right along that score line. Just like that. Make sure it's on there good. Now we can take off this paper. And I'm going to flip it over. Now here's our piece. Then we can fold it on the second score line from this side. And it'll be perfect right to the edge. Okay? And again, here's the front of our box. So this flap is going to go in last. So let's fold in the sides, fold in the back. I'm going to add some glue. And then we can fold this over. And we can just grab our bone folder and make sure it's adhered really nicely. All right, so now our seams are in the back. Okay, and here's our flap. So now what we're going to do is just pinch the sides just at the top, and then here's our flap. To make it easier for adding our ribbon, I am just going to grab 2 glue dots, and I'm going to just put a glue dot at each corner and fold it up. And then it's nice, it's closed. All right, so let's grab our scrap piece of paper here. And I am going to grab a different clover from this set. And unfortunately, this one I have to fussy cut. So we're just going to give it a stamp. And luckily, it's pretty straightforward. When you fussy cut, the easiest way to do it is to move your image around instead of your scissors. You'll get much straighter lines. Just keep moving the paper. You do run out of space. Let's just pull that up. cut that off. Now, believe it or not, the bow for this box is a wraparound and then tie your bow again. Can you believe I hate and I can't do it right? And for tonight, I'm doing it twice. I guess I won't get better unless I keep doing it, right? All right, so there's our clover. So let's grab our ribbon and we're going to lay the ribbon. Make sure I have enough. And we're going to wrap. Make sure the ribbon is straight. And we're going to tie a bow. And I'm going to just bring it closer to me. I fumble when I have to do this. You know how I wrap and then tie my bow because I just cannot do this. Let's make sure this is tight. I'm just going to trim this a little bit and then I can fix my loops. That is not good. It's so funny how I struggle. All right, let's do it this way. And yes, I can tie my own shoes. All right, there we go. So let's cut this tail. And I'm going to cut this one again, but I'm going to cut it this way this time. And then we're just going to grab this little clover. We're going to stick we're going to stick 2 dimensionals on here. I'm actually going to cut one. Okay, I'm going to put it aside. Then I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper. And I have Happy St. Patrick's Day. And I'm going to do it in Pear Pizzazz. And I'm just going to test it. And I'm going to lay it down towards the bottom. Hopefully it's on there straight. Then I'm just going to take my trimmer and hopefully get this trimmed down a little bit. Let's just line it up. That's good. So this is the hard part. We want to make sure that our lines are straight, but with these little pieces, it makes it difficult. So there's our little banner. And I'm just going to take this banner punch and I'm going to insert it inside here so you can see. And I'm just going to line it up. Make sure it is centered. Let's see. Okay, so it has a little banner at the end. Then for the other side, I don't really want all this white. So I'm going to create it like an arrow. And then I am going to curl this side and curl this side, just like that. Grab our embellishments again. And I'm going to add this embellishment right to the end or to the point of the banner. Okay. Then we're going to grab our clover, and I am actually going to grab a glue dot. There they are. Let me just grab a glue dot. This way I don't have to worry about the glue drying. We're going to put this glue dot right in the center of our clover. We're going to add the clover first to our box. Okay. So let's put it right here. Grab our banner. Right where that little element is, that's where we're going to put it on the glue dot. Just like that. And then we can take one of our little gold gems and stick it here. And another one and stick it there. And there we have, excuse me, our St. Patty's Day projects. Let's get this off here. We have a little treat holder. We have our clover. And then we have our watercolors. So there you go. I will post the link to the PDF. Hopefully I can do it now. I have to check on Bill. If not, it'll be there first thing in the morning. Or you can just go to galfridaystamping.net, read the blog, and it's the first post that you'll come to. So I hope everybody has a great night. Stay warm, Karen, in that snowy weather of yours. And hopefully, as long as things go well and Bill doesn't get sicker, I will see you on Sunday. Thank you, Sheila. Thanks for joining, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Yes, they will. I'll talk to everybody soon. Bye-bye.